Hey everyone, Matt here on another edition of Ask Ron. Ron, how's your day going so far?
So far, so good since it's just starting.
Nice. All right. We have a few questions today, so let's go ahead and jump right into it.
First of all, I want to address our weather out here today. I feel so sorry for you snowbirds up there, knee deep in snow, frozen tundra. You should see the weather down here in Jacksonville, Florida today. I don't know where you would go anywhere in this country and get better weather than we got today. It is absolutely gorgeous outside. I don't know what the temperature is, but I'm in short sleeves this morning, so I thought I'd tell you something. All right, go ahead. Now that I've pissed everybody off, man, go ahead.
Well, it's not that bad here. It's only a cool 75 degrees on January 13th.
That's all.
All right. Our first question is from Mario in the British Columbia. Mario says, Mario. Mario says, hi, Ron. How do I file a memorandum to cloud the title being outside of the United States? The deal is in Georgia. I understand it needs to be notarized. I'm in Canada. Is it okay if I notarize it in Canada?
No, it's not. And you don't need to worry about it anyway, Mario. You must be reading something very old of mine or listening to it. I don't even do that anymore. If you have a contract with a seller, I have no reason to believe that seller is not going to honor that contract. So I wouldn't even worry about it. It's more trouble than it's worth. And it has to be notarized to be recorded, but the only signature on the one that I've got is your signature. But you can't notarize something in one state. You probably won't take it in the other state, or they might. I just don't know the answer, but it's relevant anyway because you don't need it.
All right, nice. The next question we have is from John, and he has two more questions after this one. So
Okay.
John says, you mentioned not to let your agent know you are doing a double closing. If the front end seller, yourself, and the back end buyer are all at closing, how could the agent not know? And why keep it a secret anyway?
Okay, well, first, let's discuss the difference between a simultaneous closing and closing. All right. Simultaneous closing means you're going to buy it first and then resell it, even though it might be right away. It means you have two closings. Okay, the agent could care less about that as long as you're closing first. Now, if you're flipping the contract, you're just assigning the contract, and there's no reason for the agent to know about that. It's irrelevant. My biggest, because the money's going to come to closing, they're going to get paid anyway, even though the money comes from the buyer. Is that agents are just not going to want to deal with you if they know you can't raise the money to buy the property. That's a real point. And the minute you bring that up, that you're going to assign a contract, they already know that they may or may not get it closed. So there's no need for you to have that discussion. It's actually none of their business at this point anyway. And if you do assign the contract, your buyer's going to take over the closing process and done with probably your title company, because you should have ordered title, make sure it's clear before you would put the property on the market sale. If your buyer is okay with it, some will be, some won't, because they might want to use their closing agents. But once you get their deposit, you don't need to worry about that. So the agent doesn't even need to know any of this until right at the last minute. And then, frankly, they don't even need to know that unless they ask and there's something they see that triggers their question. I thought you were closing. No, I'm assigning the contract, but at least that. Basically, what comes out of your mouth can easily destroy a deal. Be careful. No need to volunteer to anybody that doesn't need to know it, or that isn't violently requesting it. And your agent will probably pre-screen you up front. Where's the money going to come from? Don't worry about that. The money's not an issue. It's all you got to say. Don't say I'm going to sign the contract and I'm broke and I don't have the money, but please help me. Please, I'm on a mercy mission. Could you help me? I'll help you. All right. You're not the only client that his agent's got. They got plenty of people that can write a check to buy this.
Nice. All right. Moving on to John's next question. John says, is closing costs and holding costs factored into the 70%?
Yes, they are. In fact, go down the sheet. If you're asking that question, that means you got my boot camp manual. Most likely go down the sheet. They're right on there. Buying closing costs, some closing costs, 30% 30%. The formula is R times 70% minus repairs, but 20% of that 30% is supposed to be to get off with only 10% of the rest as expenses. And remember, it does not include interest in private loan nor commissions if you want to sell with a realtor. So that's why we don't pay Mayo, man. And I mean, even in today's time, I'm not going to pay Mayo. Is that I have no exit strategy at all whatsoever than this contract, because crazy buyers too much for the property. Plenty of them out there, but there's no way I'd want you to close on the property and pay cash for it if you Mayo, because there's very little margin left over for you to actually make a profit in it. Better off flipping it and getting out of it. So I'm not saying don't pay Mayo, but I'm saying don't rehab it if you do.
All right. John's last question, he says, can you explain hedge factor? I don't know what that is.
Murphy, man, things go wrong. What if you can't sell it for what you thought you could sell it for? Boom, big chunk right out there. What if the repairs cost more than you thought, which they usually do? You know, what if it takes a lot longer and your holding costs are long? That's all hedge factor. And 5%, sir, is a very conservative hedge factor. I mean, you think about it, if you have to lower the price 5%, there goes your entire hedge factor. So don't be fudging the numbers because you don't think they apply to you. Trust me, they're very conservative numbers. That's why I always buy below Mayo, well below Mayo. Everywhere I go in this town like that. And you talk to any investor that rehabs houses and ask them when the last time one went exactly on the go. Sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes more than not, you go to a seminar and you learn these things. Listen to the old guy. Trying to get a deal to work. I'd rather you not buy a house and pay cash for it than pay too much for it and then have this mess.
All right. I think we have on to our last question here, Ron, and it's from Roderick in South Carolina. Roderick says, I've been working towards the success of this business for about 3 to 4 months, but I'm still struggling with just calling the seller of the properties that I'm sent. How do I master this hurdle, and what can I do to ensure more consistency?
Well, there's several answers to that question. First of all, you've got the same issue that most people coming into the business have. They're afraid of that telephone, and they get all locked up when they have to talk to somebody on the other side they'll probably never meet. And they have no training on how to handle that call. And in fact, I might be a lesson on the Gold Club about mastering phone number.
Yep.
That's just a little short lesson. I do know that we have a whole 2-day course on that sells for $14.97 if you'll call my office, which is a very, very, very good deal and a very good investment. About mastering the phone, that's what it's about. There's 12 mistakes that I publish that people make and don't know that they're making them. So the first thing is to make some practice calls and record your calls, play them back with my mistakes in front of you, and you'll quickly see the mistakes you're making. And you will not recognize them while you're trying to listen to yourself talk. That's why you got to play back the recording. And I always say, make sure you got a barf bag right there, because you're going to need it when you hear how crappy you sound on the phone. And just for your information, everybody sucks when they start calling on the phone. It's just a matter of practice. But first, you got to figure out, what am I doing wrong? Then you got to work on fixing those as you go forward. And there's a whole list of those things. People have the ums and the ahs and the you knows and the rights and all of that. Don't even realize it. Okay. Nobody's going to tell you that. But one of the biggest mistakes people make is they beg. They don't know they're begging. They don't sound like they're begging to themselves. They don't act like they're begging. They don't think I'm begging. But when you play that recording back, you'll see that you're begging. You're either talking too much, or you're talking too fast, or you're preaching, or you're teaching. Our begging just comes out in the sound of your voice. You hear it when you play it back. You work on fixing these things and practice on getting better, and pretty soon you'll be a different animal on that telephone. Price, down payment, and monthly payment, because you don't make an appointment to go to the house until you have those answers, and those answers satisfy you enough to make you want to go to the house. When we ask them, when we tell them, we usually buy everything down okay, and they say okay, probably got a reason to go to the house right there. Okay. But when they got this great big down payment, and I'm not going to the house until I can get them to come down. Well, that's all part of your just out there and pretty soon discouraged, and you go off on the next. Guess what you'll find out? There's stuff there you got to learn you didn't well. No matter what you do to earn money, you got to learn stuff you don't already know. And frankly, I don't business. Buying and selling houses, once you crack that code of getting on that telephone and because the rest of this stuff's done for you today, for crying out loud. It's so systematic, automated. I mean, almost everything is done for you. The goal is to do that closing call, and pretty soon you'll be able to replace yourself to do that. Once you can do it, I want you to do it first, because by fixing your ability to communicate on that telephone, you've done way more than for the rest of your life, for every conversation you have on and off the phone or in person or whatever. I will teach you, you answer questions with questions, them give you the answer, you respond to that. But most people get on there and just start blurbing and blabbering and teaching and preaching, and they lose control of the conversation. Plus, the more you talk, the more questions they got, the more answers you got to come up with. The first things you got to learn is shut up. Answer questions with questions. Just adapt that in your conversation abilities. You see a huge difference. They tell us what they want. We don't tell them down. We don't tell them what they'll give them per month. They tell us. So you got to get it in your head that sellers make you. We're not making them the offer. We're just asking them questions. By answering them, they're making us the offers. And you got to keep that in your head, because if you don't, you're going to get diarrhea of the mouth, lose control of the conversation, and wonder why you don't get any deals. Now, people will recognize very quickly that you have what you're doing when you get diarrhea of the mouth and start flapping your jaws. Follow my scripts, practice that. You will be using those same traits in all your conversations going forward, including with your own children, for crying out loud. And you want a bigger allowance, huh, Johnny? Well, Johnny, what are you going to do for me if I give you a bigger allowance? Let me the offer. All right.
That's good.
That was a long answer, wasn't it?
It was, but it was good. I like that. I like that one. All right, Ron, I think that's all we have for today.
All right. We're going to be having our next live boot camp in Dallas at the end of this month. And I assume you've heard about the seller financing boot camp that I'm doing virtual here on the 20th and the 21st. That would be, for crying out loud. I can't imagine why you wouldn't be on that one. You won't get that information from anybody else on the planet. That I can tell you, because they're all dead. All right. So you better come get information out of the old guy while you can. It's all about buying and selling. And then the boot camp, totally different. But everybody needs to get in that if you intend to do this business. But also keep your eye on, I'm going out and I'm doing some one-day seminars called the Modern Day Money Machine around the country. So keep your eye on the schedule. If I get near you, you're going to want to probably come to one of those. For example, I know I'm doing one in Newark, New Jersey on February the 11th. And that's as far as my memory will take me, out to February 11th. So that's very inexpensive as well, about $99 for a whole day. So anyway, go check it out and keep going. This is the first of the year. This is a great time to get started. Strongly suggest you come on back, get a dose of Ron. Let's get you back on the right track. Let's make sure you leave. And then if you want, get help implementing the plan. We got it all for you, right down to personal one-on-one mentors, for crying out loud. There's no reason why you shouldn't and can't get out there and succeed in this market. And by the way, if you think market's too hot and there's no deals, nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, nothing. Every time I do a live event where we're doing deals, we do deals from leads students bring. Do not listen to the people that are too lazy to get out there and get the work done, or looking for the very first excuse they can come up with so they don't have to do anything. And frankly, the world is full of those folks. Okay. There are plenty of deals out there in this hot market. And if you don't think there's deals you can buy at a discount, you ought to hang around the people I hang around with. Some of them wholesale 150, 200, 250 houses a year, for crying out loud. Okay, where are they getting these deals at? Well, they're probably not coming out of the MLS. They're coming from FSBOs, and they do take some work getting to them. But come on, business requires a little bit of activity, and it's requires a little bit of investment in your business like any other business. But for the most part, anybody coming into this thing can easily go out and do 1 or 2 deals a month, and frankly, they have no overhead. And I mean almost no overhead. I've never seen a business like this business where I have such a very small overhead and transactional checks coming in on the front, whether it's a wholesale, whether it's a rehab, whether it's a terms deal, and I'm getting the non-refundable deposit, or an owner financing deal, I'm getting a big down payment. The checks are quick. And then there's the ongoing revenue after that in the terms business. This is too good not to take a little time to focus on. And yeah, you'll have to invest in your education, but it's minuscule compared to what you've invested in your education up to this point in your life. And you got to say, where am I going to go with it? If you want to put yourself in a position to make any real money, you got to find a vehicle to do that with. And real estate is one of those vehicles. And frankly, it's a hard one to beat. So anyway, I'm going to get off of my podium now, and I'll let you go, and I'll see you guys next week.